Yeah.
All right, Paul, we are recording.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! Hello, world. Hello, all who are tuned in to the Jimmy and Paul show. I'm Jimmy.
And I'm Paul.
That's Paul. And we're very excited to be here. And we recently, in a conversation with each other, felt inspired and spontaneously decided to create what we were calling a podcast. But I don't know if this is visuals. I don't know if you call this a podcast.
Yeah.
Video cast. This is a video cast.
Yes.
And
it still involves us talking.
Yeah.
And being together. So it has some overlap with the podcast.
Yeah. The show's basically you watching us be us and talk to each other. It's not.
And hopefully you'll get something out of it.
Yeah, and hopefully there's value. But really, we just wanted to record our conversations because we think we're funny and sometimes intelligent. We wanted to share.
Yeah, because our egos are so big. Our egos are so big that we think we're hilarious and so deep and
yeah.
And we need to share that.
Yeah, we want to share that. So otherwise we're just giving a disservice by not, yeah. So on real news. So yeah, for us, we want this to look like just our, us genuinely connecting, being with each other. Right now, I feel like we're addressing somebody. We're addressing this like mysterious entity.
The audience who will be here in the future but are not here in the present.
Yeah,
so it's an imaginary audience.
Yeah, we're talking to an imaginary audience. And that'll probably, I don't know. This is a pilot. It'll probably look like the beginning of our thing, and then I think when we get into it, it's just me and Paul. I think it's just us talking to each other. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So let's just start talking to each other.
Yeah, and we felt that inner drama was going to be our topic for today because we're both so good at being dramatic about life and
in the safety and solitude of our minds.
Yes. And creating all this unnecessary suffering for ourselves, which is a human thing.
Yeah.
And so we have so much experience with that that we'll venture forth talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what comes up for you, Jimmy, when if we were just to say like inner drama, what's the first thing that comes up for you?
Yeah, I feel like inner drama has been present for me recently, like today and yesterday, especially. I feel like this week the theme is very much self-love. I mean, life for me, I don't know, the past like few years, it seemed like the theme is always self-love. But I know like you've got the 21-day self-love group that's running and organizing. And then also like I have an astrologer I like to listen to, and he was speaking about the energy of the week being self-love. And
is that Lee Harris?
No, Christopher Witzhacki with Namaste Today.
Oh, yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I don't know that one, but
he has a really fun,
they're great.
Yeah, really fun show. He's playful and well organized, and really on point. And scientific, like astrology that's delivered in a playful way, But
yeah,
to digress, and so for me, something came up last night where I was I had an experience yesterday, and I just felt like my mind kept wanting to run to this inner drama about it. And I felt into how self-loving it was to do anything but that, like to do anything but let that inner drama run and play out. I feel in my life, I feel that so much, especially like my teenage years, childhood, so much of my trauma, pain, sadness, depression did not come from like external victimization, external events, but really from like way I would intensely victimize myself in my own mind and create dramas and terrible scenarios to make myself feel like deeper, like way worse,
Yeah. This is it reminds me of what we were talking about the other day when you were sharing with me some experiences you had growing up, and people would get angry. And this is a good, there's a good connection here with like we have all these different parts, and when we're kids and something that as an adult we could handle it really well would happen, um, as a kid we can't necessarily handle it that well at that point. So if mom or dad gets, or anybody, maybe a school teacher gets really um, angry or
Mhm.
upset with us, then as a little kid we'll go into fight or flight, or it'll even be traumatic for us, and then that'll be stored as a memory that is dormant inside of us for the rest of our
Mm.
life until it gets activated. And um, and so that's why I feel like, or part of why, maybe not the full explanation, but part of why, like when we're going through life, um, things happen that, like for me, like it might be getting a ticket. Like I've gotten tickets from police officers, and like for silly things like speeding, or some traffic violation, and then there'll be this big reaction inside of me, and it's like it doesn't make sense in proportion to the situation, but it goes back to some subconscious memory that I
Mhm.
had from when I was a kid. And so the reaction is out of proportion to the situation for an adult, but not for that little kid that still has that memory of mom or dad or the school teacher got really upset with me. So that's kind of a long explanation, but I feel like so much of our inner drama is tied to, our
Past
past, and,
events.
and not just our recent past, but way back in the past,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. I feel like a lot of my inner drama for me is like angry. Like in my inner dramas, I'm like, I'm real angry, and I'm like I'm ready to like, ready to call somebody out and be angry at them and like tell them what I really think, Like I feel like that's like the inner drama I go into. And I think
Yeah.
that's just because like I again, like, we were talking about this the other day, just a lot of sheltered, bottled up anger as a youthful person. Like
Yeah.
I just held a lot of that anger in. It's almost like I released the anger in my dramas, in my like inner dramas that nobody else heard, nobody else saw. But
Yeah.
then like, what am I doing? Right. Like I feel that was it's almost even more painful because it didn't feel like there was like an actual genuine release. It almost feels like when I'm in that drama and I'm angry in that drama, I'm just actually building up the bottle. I'm just building up the bottle with more and more anger, and I'm not, there's no space where I'm genuinely experiencing the anger. There's no space where I'm actually expressing my inner thoughts and feelings about a situation that has me angry. There's no real communication happening. I'm just like in my own being angry, and then a lot of times like creating a dramatic situation where I'm like being angry towards a person or something that I feel upset with and frustrated with. um and yeah, I feel like for me, there's becoming little room for that in my life, like little room for that, just because
Yeah.
it doesn't move me anywhere. I don't feel like I get anywhere with that space of just being angry inside or being like upset inside or creating a drama with another person in my own head and then never genuinely communicating. Yeah, it just doesn't
Yeah.
feel like it moves me anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. What that brings up for me is, it's interesting because there was a time in my life where I believed that people basically want to be happy. And I still believe that's true. I think, in our um, core sense of who we are, we really want to be happy. And a lot of our actions and our efforts are going towards being happy, whether
Yeah.
it's, getting the money, or the promotion, or the right relationship, or enlightenment, or whatever it is. I'm trying to be happy.
Yeah.
But I learned over time, that, like I said, we have all these different parts of us, and not all of them um, want to be happy, or want to be happy in the same way. I mean, some of them are addicted to the drama. So, some of our inner parts that have a tendency to get angry, it's like they're addicted to the anger. So it's like, well, one part of us, which might feel like the authentic part, wants to be happy, and so it's like wants to get away from the anger. Another part wants to keep playing out that anger or the sadness or the anxiety or whatever negative emotion it is. And so I feel like that's a big part of why they repeat so much too, is because I mean those negative emotions, those patterns, they repeat so much, right? Because part of us gets a juice out of it. Like
Yeah.
part of us
Is it
wants it
just,
to repeat. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
And I love that because I feel like that's, yeah, so much of where I've been in life is exactly that. Like, I love that, like, like that juice, that adrenaline, that fiery, like, yeah, I'm gonna give it to that
Yeah.
person, you know, it's like, it
Yeah.
gets there. And for me too, I love that connection distinction, because I think that's like what's happening for me is I'm really getting clear on what is my higher joy, like what actually brings me joy, what actually brings me fulfillment and happiness. And it's peace, like it's peace, it's just creativity, being with anything but that, right? Like to
Mm,
really recognize that energy going and creating that drama, um just getting really clear with myself that that's draining me, like that's a draining experience. um
yeah.
and it's becoming simple for me to just recognize that and shift, but I feel like that has not been simple for so much of my life that's been like, you know, like I don't
Yeah.
even know what's happening, you know what I mean? I'm not
Well,
even
that
aware that
that
I'm
hasn't
doing it,
been
you know.
yeah, that hasn't been simple for humanity,
Yeah.
for like for thousands of
For
years. We've
thousands
been
of
doing
years.
these for thousands of years. We've been doing these patterns and these negative emotions, so it's so conditioned into us. And what is truly sane, I like the word sanity and sane. What is truly sane is not obvious to us anymore. That we can just enjoy life, and we don't have to do all this. We don't have to do all the reactions, and we don't have to do the unnecessary suffering.
Yeah. Mm.
And you know the experience of just being alive, like there were some ancient philosophers, I think, that talked about just the joy of being alive. There's a basic joy of being alive that we
Yeah.
can feel when the other stuff is cleared out of the way.
Yeah.
It's just good to be here. It's good to be here.
Yeah.
And but man, we can get so so far away from that, and then we think that all the reactivity and the negativity is normal.
Mm.
And that's humanity has been like that for a long time, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, it's like there's like a simple bliss, like a simple bliss of just of existing, like purely just like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm existing, and that's simply blissful. um
Mm,
and then there's this, we've created at some point in the past 75,000 years of humanity this experience of mind stuff that happens, where
yeah.
it's just inner suffering created by thought and
Yeah.
like, and then that becomes the normal, that like that mind stuff becomes the normal. And I think we've just gone so far away from forgetting how simply blissful just existing is. And we feel like
Absolutely.
it's almost like we have to make it complicated, right? Like I feel like that's, especially when I was younger, a lot of my dramas, inner dramas and things were really complex. I would create these elaborate stories that weren't
Mm,
true. Elaborate scenarios and stories that to like put myself in a role of either like the victim, um, or to like feel powerful, like put myself in the role of like the I don't even know, like the one that's like giving it to the guy again. You know what I mean? Like
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the victim that's not going to be a victim anymore. You know what I
Stick it to
mean?
the man, right?
Stick it to the bed.
Yeah.
Beat the guy up. Like I've had violent dramas play out. A lot of my life is like I've had a lot of violent dramas play out.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
think it's good we're talking about this, because I feel like, I mean, just the stuff that we're talking about, what we've talked about so far, which we
Yeah.
didn't plan any out, we didn't plan what we were going to say ahead of time. So this is all
No.
spontaneous,
Yeah, it's just a
but
conversation. Two
it's just
guys.
we're just talking. But yeah, I mean, what you just said, what it makes me think of is, those kind of conversations, admitting that, like, there's a part of us that just wants to be violent. Like when we feel anger, it's like anger, the energy of anger, it wants to hit something, and it wants to hit somebody,
Mm.
whoever I feel like you were saying, the victim to, it wants to hit back,
Yeah.
hurt somebody. And all the negative emotions that go on for everybody every day, yet we don't have that normalized as a conversation. Like we're not talking about it. And like everybody knows, uh, people ask you, how are you? And the response that we're conditioned to give is, I'm good, I'm fine, even though that's not what's going on, you
Yeah.
know. But
Yeah, I love
yeah,
that. I want to like, I just think that's a great thing to kind of tangent into for a second. That conversation point of like, how are you? I'm fine. You know, whatever.
yeah,
I'm good. Yeah, I feel like there's not like a trust or a safety between one stranger to another stranger, like between two people. Sometimes it's even between people who are connected. But like if I'm at, you know, I like a gas station, I'm like, hey, how's it going today? And they're like, I'm good. They're like, how are you? I'm like, I'm good. Right. It's like, well, I mean, do I feel safe enough to tell the guy, like, you know, I'm feeling really depressed today? Like, do I feel safe enough in that relationship? You know,
yeah,
I feel for me,
absolutely, yeah,
it's scary. Like, how is that person going to receive me? How are they going to respond? Are they going to be uncomfortable? And then I think like I've played a lot of that in my life, right? Like, I don't want to make people uncomfortable. I don't want to, yeah, I don't want to make people uncomfortable. Like that's a game I've played, and yeah, so it's like, yeah, it's hard to respond to those kind of questions
yeah, yeah. And
authentically.
I Yeah, absolutely, because like I feel like what you're talking about is emotional safety. Like, do I feel safe
Yeah.
to give voice to what I'm authentically feeling on an emotional level? And with the how are you, and I don't know if you see this differently, but I feel like um just because of, it's like there's a sense in which there's not an environment of safety in sharing our emotions with other people, you know. And so there's a truth to it, because we're judgmental, and so not everybody's able to receive our emotional experience with an open heart. And so I think there's a wisdom in, somebody says, how are you, and you don't have to give them the whole, or it's not wise necessarily to say, this is what I'm feeling. You know, it's okay, at least from my point of view, to say, yeah, I'm good, I'm fine, and then go on with your day, and share with somebody that you really do trust. You know,
Yeah.
share with somebody that you really do feel safe with, and their heart is open to you.
Yeah, I think that that's yeah, like there should be no obligation to share my emotional experience with somebody I
Yeah,
don't feel safe with. I get that. Yeah. And I'm my question is then why do we ask the question? Right? Like
mm,
why do we ask the question, how are you? I mean, how many times have I heard that? Like, how are you doing today? How are you? You know? Uh I like how many times have I heard that question without a genuine care, like without genuine care of really knowing, being behind the question, right? Like I feel like the
yeah,
question is just so mindless and empty. um and I imagine like that question, not having the consciousness of care behind it, can
yeah,
make people feel really alone, you know. Like if I didn't have the kind of, I'm very fortunate and blessed to have connections in my life that truly care about me and are there to like hold my emotional space. Like incredibly blessed in that area. But for somebody who doesn't have those kind of connections, I feel like hearing like, how are you, how's your day going, how are you, hey, how are you doing today, over and over and over again, and not a single time does it have a genuine, like a genuine open space for that person to really share how they're doing today. I imagine that can make that person feel even more isolated, and even more alone in a world that
yeah,
doesn't feel like cared about.
yeah, 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 absolutely. And that's what I feel too, is what you said at the beginning of that it's mindless, it's just habitual.
Hmm.
um, like just like when we're eating food, but we're not tasting our food, we're just we're on automatic pilot. And even for me, like I've been I've had a meditation practice for a number of years now, you know. But I can also notice a lot of my day I'm in a trance, you know.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm not present with the moment, with what's going right now in this moment we're talking.
Hmm.
um, Part of me is in some daydream, some imagine the future, past, um, planning, remembering something, and I'm not right here right now.
Yeah, it's like throughout your day, a lot of it, even though you've cultivated meditation practices, even though you've been
Yeah.
diligent about like I get, you know what I mean, like you conceptually understand like presence is the key to like happiness, to life, to success, you know, really. And
Hmm.
yet there's still a trance. And I think this ties in perfectly to inner drama, right? Because like that's where inner drama comes out of, is that trance
Yeah.
state. Like when I'm present, and I'm present to my life, my experience, my surroundings, my reality, my whatever I'm creating in the moment,
Yeah.
I'm not creating inner drama suffering. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
That's not what's
Yeah.
happening. That only comes alive when I'm quite unpresent to my emotions that are actually wanting me to be present to them, right? Like it's like my anger, my
Yeah.
sadness, whatever, is it's wanting me to be present to it. um
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
instead of being present to it, I'm just like creating a drama, so that way those emotions, because they need to go somewhere, they need to move somewhere.
That's so great. Yeah, I was just thinking today, we can feel that, like you're talking about our presence, when our presence is present with our emotions, it has a healing effect on our emotions. When we're not trying to do something with the emotion, when we're not trying to get rid of it or analyze it, but we're just being present with it, maybe even our heart is open to it and it can feel our love, then that emotion can heal. And I like to say, go back home. Then it can go back to wherever it came from. Um, but yeah, we can feel that, like at least for me, I can intuit that just being the simple act of being present with our emotions is what they need to heal and be released and go
Mm.
back home.
Yeah, that's all
Yeah.
it needs. It just needs to be felt, experienced, seen.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that way they can move. um yeah, you know, I've been studying music, and I heard this guy say the other day, he was talking about harmony and describing harmony as as movement that comes back home. And like when you hear pretty music, a lot of times like the sounds that you love the most are the sounds that sound like it's coming home. Yeah. And those sounds sound so pretty because you let the movement go away from home, you know. And so the emotions are such an interesting experience, whether it's anger, sadness, joy, bliss, whatever emotion, even if it's not emotion, like an emotion we usually call negative or whatever, like it's such a interesting experience still to have that kind of emotion come up. They're really intense and
Mm,
interesting. And it's harmonious and beautiful if we like let them move and then bring them home. But I think like so often we haven't been taught how to bring them home. Like we haven't been taught how to get to
yeah.
that resolve. And what's happening is that tension, right? Like that's the idea in music, is you create tension and then you resolve it
Yeah.
by bringing it home. And so these
Yeah.
emotions
Yeah.
are creating tension, and when we don't know how to bring it home, then we just fester the tension and inner drama, right? Like that's just
Yeah.
continue the
Yeah.
tension, continue the tension, continue.
Right. It's disharmony, like in your music
Yeah,
analogy. It's like the it's not making a nice harmonic chord. It's like, wah,
yeah, because it
so
never comes home.
doesn't come home.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. I like the way you tied music in with that.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too. It's part of why I'm so interested in studying music right now, which I mean it's so new for
Yeah.
me, but I feel like it's got something deeply metaphysical about it that I'm looking forward to continue to uncover.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Oh, mm, that felt good. That felt like
Yeah.
feels good. Anything else you want to say about inner drama specifically? I feel like we kind of
Yeah, there's one thing I
yeah.
wanted to say, actually. One thing that's coming up is we were talking about how, it's all tied to our thoughts. So many of our emotions, um one book I read put the figure at 90%. 90% of our emotions are being manufactured by the stories in our minds, and I
Oh,
would add us believing in the stories. So there's another 10% that come from other places, but that's an incredible figure. Like 90% of my emotions are being created by stories I tell myself. And there's the way out of that is there's moments of awakening where we see the story as a story, or we see the thought just as a thought. And what's aware of the story, or what's aware of the thought, pops out. steps outside of that perspective, and it's felt like, oh, I just woke up from that perspective, like I just woke up out of that dream that may have seemed like my whole world, you know. And I may have seemed like the victim in that situation of what that person said to me, they shouldn't have done that, or I got the traffic ticket or whatever. There's a moment of awakening, that it also feels like freedom too. I wanted to add that. And I also feel like it's like another metaphor that I really like. It's like we're wearing a mask, you know? It's like I have a mask on, of, let's say again, just to use the victim example. I'm playing the victim, you know, and that's my mask. That's who I think I am. And in the moment of awakening, it's like taking your mask off, you
Mm,
know, to reveal what you really are when you're not telling the story about the moment anymore.
mm.
So yeah, that's one of my favorite metaphors, taking the mask off.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Yeah.
mask is like a creating its own identity, its own story, its own experience, just fully um, not based in reality, not founded in
Yeah.
reality. It's taking like inspiration from reality and then creating a brand new reality.
Mm-hmm.
And when we
Distortion.
distortion, that's distortion. That's distortion.
Yeah.
The mask, yeah. It's taking the
Yeah.
mask off. And then there's yeah, that's been one of my I love that. I love the like word mask. I love that as an analogy. I love that as a experience. And for me, I had a really painful moment. I was in a Satvatove seminar. And I
Yeah,
had
that's a spiritual development, personal development work that you do.
yeah, personal
Sabotage. Yeah.
development, communication, like conscious communication work. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot about communication and
Mhm.
relationships, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's yeah. Thank you. Yeah. It's
Just
all
so
about
just so people know who are
yeah.
going to
Just
listen to this.
yeah. I forget. We're talking to people. You know, we're talking to there's just two guys. You know, but yeah, there's a whole audience. So yeah, to give a little brief plug in for Satvatove, um, Satvatove Institute is all about taking your relationships and the way that you show up in those relationships, and taking that and making that the foundation really for at making the communication between our relationships and making sure that we have relationships that are truly working, that are harmonious, taking that as the foundation of like that's what is needed really to create a life of true happiness, of true peace and happiness. Like we were saying, everybody wants to get to happiness. Well, Savatove takes the route of your relationships and the way that you show up in communication in those relationships as the route to higher happiness. And of course, the courses go deeper than that. I mean, there's so much paradigms of conscious living and rich of like inner healing work and all sorts of great
Yeah,
rich
it
stuff.
goes really deep.
It goes really
Yeah.
deep. I'll leave a link in the comments. All right, so how
Oh,
that works.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll leave a Savatove Institute link. And but yeah, so I'm in a seminar at one point, and Savatove, in a lot of ways, touches on taking the masks off. It's a big paradigm, and Savatove is taking the masks off, and
Oh, cool.
it's yeah, it's and for me, I was in a seminar, and I was uh, uh, taking masks off, and I just hit this terribly painful moment of realizing that I've taken off so many masks already. I had taken several seminars by this point, and I was back into it again, and I had taken so many masks off already, and there was still more masks, and there was still more masks, and still more masks, and it was like, whoa, will this
Yeah, like
ever end? You know?
false identities and stories of yourself that aren't the true you, and you're becoming
Yeah.
aware of them and seeing them and then taking them off. And
And then
yeah,
there's
go
more.
ahead.
There's just more. You know? Yeah,
An-
exactly. Thank you.
another false identity that's also
Another
not me.
positivity. Yeah. It's like as soon as I take off one, it's like very quickly I got to build another one that's like, you know, just a little bit lighter, but it's still a mask.
Yeah.
um, and it was really painful for me to realize this, like deeply painful. And in that experience and with the facilitator, I came to the realization of like, that's kind of just what we're doing here. You know, like that's kind of what this planet is about right now, is like, we're an illusion. You know, like this is elusive. This is an illusion experience, and it's about recognizing and becoming aware of that illusion. And as soon as we move beyond some of the illusion, there's space to realize more of the illusion. and I feel like for me, why it was so painful is I just want to like get to God mode. I just want to like be beyond illusion. That's been my experience
Yeah.
a lot of my life, is just be beyond illusion. and
Yeah.
and really then I hit this beautiful moment of like bliss and joy of like, wow, I get to be an illusion. Like this excitement, right? Like I get to be distorted, I get to be an illusion, and I get to keep being in higher and higher layers of illusion, like lighter and lighter layers of illusion, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think at some level, like when we coming back to inner drama, when we take out like the unnecessary suffering, even if we're still an illusion, that illusion can be playful, it can be joyful, it can be blissful.
Hmm.
It's not, illusion is not a bad thing. It's just the illusion that's hurting us, that's creating unnecessary suffering, that's keeping us from our true bliss.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm feeling called to kind of clarify that with you, and just to say it back to you in a different way, so that people
Yeah.
who are going to listen to this can understand what you're saying clearly. So you're saying um, the big illusion is life from the point of view of our presence or our spiritual self. It can be experienced like, oh, this whole experience of life is some kind of illusion that uh, I'm beyond that, or I'm transcendent of that somehow, and I'm experiencing it all as um, as an illusion, or I'm aware of that. But then there's another level of it, such that within life, I'm running these stories, which we've been talking about this whole time, the inner drama stories that create suffering for myself, and those are also illusions. But that's part of that. Those are illusions that I can take away, or those are illusions that I can subtract. Those are masks that I can peel off, and then my experience of the illusion of life becomes, like you said, more joyful, more playful, more love and light. Uh, is that about right? Recreation of what you said?
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely. That, like in the bigger picture, like this like life is elusive. Like the life that we're here on this planet and being like spiritual beings, having a human experience.
Human experience.
The human
Yeah.
experience is illusion. And that's okay. Like that's cool. Like that's like, we want that,
Yeah.
it's why we're here. And then there's also the yeah, exactly, the illusion that is like the different identities we create for ourselves, the different masks. And yeah, it's about
Yeah.
peeling those back.
Yeah. Yeah. I can feel, we were talking about this the other day, when we talk about these um, philosophical topics. For me, it feels like the energy of the conversation gets very, very big. Uh, it's a kind of vast energy without any boundaries, and
Yeah.
it also feels like I've gone up, I've transcended, just by talking about it with words like this. So it's
Yeah.
amazing. So I hope people that listen to this, if you're listening to this, I hope you can maybe tune into that, and just feel into it, because there's the ideas, the words that we're saying,
Yeah.
but then the energy of it communicates something else, and um, that's worth feeling.
Mm. Beautiful said. Beautifully said. And in
Yeah.
that, I think we're running right at about 32 minutes here. So maybe we close this session.
Whoa,
Yeah.
that
Right
felt
on.
like longer than 32 minutes to me, but
Did it?
I'll take
It
your
felt
word for it.
shorter to me. That's how time works, huh? It's all perception,
Oh.
huh?
That's a perfect way to
Yeah,
end it.
perfect way to end it. Yeah, yeah. So I'm really excited about this. I do want to say that as a final close to you and to our
Yeah.
audience. I feel good about this as a little pilot, just us chatting, and I feel excited to create more of this.
Yeah, I'd like to create more too, and maybe next time. I don't know that I'll have a computer. Like I said, I'm doing this on my phone, but maybe next
Yeah,
time I won't be in my car, and I can have better lighting.
yeah.
Um, but
Hey, next
whatever.
time I think we'll be together. I think next week.
Oh,
Let's just do it.
yeah,
I think it's
yeah,
good. Let's just make it
that
happen
feels
when we're
good.
there. I think alive us together as our second little video cast will
Yeah,
be awesome. I think
we're coming at you
there's space for
live
that. Coming at you
again
live
in the near
next
future.
week in the near future from North Carolina. Right now I'm in Illinois and Paul's in Kansas, and we'll be coming live to you from North Carolina. How exciting.
So Thank you, Jimmy. Thanks for doing this with me and sharing yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Thank you for the same. Thank you for the easy space for me to feel strong in sharing myself.
Yeah, likewise, brother.
Thank you. Blessings.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. I love you all.